All right, parents, here we go again. It's the Ask Dr. Tony episode. This is the Experience Miracles podcast, and I'm your host, Dr. Tony Ebel, an expert in pediatrics, neurodevelopmental disorders, and drug-free, nervous system-focused healthcare. On this weekly episode, I'll be addressing the top questions on every parent's mind. If there's one thing we love and welcome, it's parents who never stop learning, asking the hard questions, and advocating for your kiddos like none other. So get ready for some real talk, real-life clinical and parenting experience, and real easy to understand answers that will help your family take action and get to that next level of health and healing. You ask, I answer. Let's dive into today's episode. Are you ready for this one? I certainly am. I've got to tell you, the inspiration for this one, if you're listening in on the podcast later on, you can't see my t-shirt, but I'm wearing one of my t-shirts that just says in big bold letters, Amen, because the inspiration for this one came during a prayer a few nights ago, a group prayer. I am blessed to serve. I love serving. I don't have a long list of things that I'm super passionate about. It's a short list of things, which allows me to, very, very, very much go all into those things. And of course, through these platforms, you know that it's about health. It's about natural health, drug-free health, nervous system health for your kids and families. Well, it's really, really, really hard to have health. It's especially hard to persevere and get through the perfect storm and these tough times that we talk about all the time on here without faith. So I also love to serve at my kids' school. Very blessed to send them to a private Christian school, a world-class private Christian school full of leaders who really just walk in faith, and they have high expectations and they really bring it to life. But that's not the part of this story. The part of this story is we're coming up on winter, right? So we're finishing the first quarter, we're going in the second quarter. So we're getting the school update. We're getting information about how the kids are doing and how everybody's doing. Yes, you're in your 40s when you sit on a board, okay? When you agree to be on a board of directors. That's like it's like a midlife crisis thing. I don't know what to call it, but I am doing it and I love it for this place especially. The one thing that comes up, and it'll be there all winter long, and I'll sit there and I will absolutely pray along as part of it. But I will pray differently, and I did Monday night. I will pray in 180 degrees of perspective because the prayer and the conversation came, oh no, here comes cold and flu season. Our kids are going to get sick. Our teachers are going to get sick. Everybody's going to get sick. And if you just leave it on the surface level, which unfortunately most of us are never taught the truth about the science and the reality and the fact that cold and flu season, calling it that and understanding it as most people still, to me, and probably you to a good part, surprisingly still do, it's absolutely mystifying because the science behind this is the most obvious. We've known it forever. And even in a space like that, like literally God didn't teach our immune system. He didn't design weak immune systems. He didn't design us to be victims. And so the truth is this, and I'm in it. I'm going to go right to it and help you the most with it to get ready for a crazy healthy winter. The only thing winter means is you need a hat and gloves, or if you're a teenager, you don't, but for some reason, they're just super resistant, they think, so to cold weather. And so winter is not about like, these viruses, these bacteria. It's I always make this joke. It's not like they chose the summer months to leave the Northern Hemisphere and go down to Florida and Mexico and vacation on the beach in the middle of summer. Like if you were I'm going to do this in my very facetious, sarcastic, super weird way. If you were a little virus family, nobody goes to Florida in the summer. Nobody wants to go to Disneyland on a hot July day. Nobody wants to go to Cancun and bake in the summer. Like if you're getting away for a season, you don't go south in the winter. That is when life is great up here. And it's funny because I'm doing this one for you proactively. I'm gonna tell stories to set the table and use sarcasm to give you the reality of where people operate from. And then we're gonna give you the 5 reasons why kids and families actually really do get sick. They're the antithesis of what people think it is, dead opposite. And then I'll give you the 5 things that we do as our family, and we teach our patients to proactively prepare for the winter months and stay just as healthy and resilient and strong during the winter as we do during the summer. But it isn't like they just move up north and are like, hey, everybody, we're here. Let's make you sick. There is no migration, like out here on the farm. I'll just drive this really full story all the way home. Out here on the farm, with my baby girl Tiny last night, she loves it. She's 10. It was so cute. It was a nice night. I was out grilling, and all the geese are flying south. They're not flying north. And so that is not what viruses do. There's not a migration in a V shape of viruses and bacteria moving from the south to the north or wherever you live, just all gung-ho and ready to get your family sick. Absolutely, positively not. If a kid coughs on you, there is not, the germ theory is not true. Let me just state a fact right out of the gates, okay? Instead, what I want to teach you with this, will teach you with this, is the farmer, which is really my nickname for the hygiene hypothesis theory, which has been around forever. Even Pasteur, who we can credit or blame, whichever you want, for a certain medical intervention, he said, yeah, no, I had it wrong. Not kind of wrong. At the end of his life, he was like, totally wrong. It is not the exposure to germs that gets us sick and causes us to get sick. It is lowered resistance. It is lowered defenses. And I'm going to give you the 5 reasons why our defenses go so low in the winter. And then I'm not just going to leave you with the bad news. I'm going to give you the 5 strategies to combat those realities of winter so that you don't have to worry about cold and flu season. Honestly, I would send my kids into a classroom. If there's 20 kids and 19 were hacking, that Ebel kid's coming out strong as can be. In fact, coming out stronger, because the way the immune system works, the more you're exposed to stuff, the stronger you get. So one more real life story I can tell you is that if the germ theory were true, I would be the sickest human you know. For 20 years, literally going on 20 years, I have physically put my hands on, because as a pediatric chiropractor, in order to help kids' nervous systems get unstressed, restored, and into a better place, we get to adjust them. That is a one-on-one actual interaction done by hand. So we are in their space. My practice specializes in chronically sick kids. So I have been in the thick of it for 20 years, and I could absolutely be, I always make the joke, goodness gracious. I do this in person. Sometimes, like right now, sometimes I'll give myself a little pause, knowing that I'm on all these different platforms and just putting this out to the world, but I'm not good at pausing and then actually not saying it. I'm gonna say it anyways. I often joke with my patients, I could take a shot of Ebola and come out stronger on the other side because, and that's a bad joke, because my immune system is so primed. 20 years growing up on a farm, I'm gonna get into the get outside, get in the dirt with your kiddos, and then 20 years being a dad and a pediatric chiropractor. If the germ theory were true, I should be patient model number 1 to say, look how sick that guy is. And the opposite is true. I haven't been sick, literally. It's much to the frustration of some other people, like my team members and stuff. So they're like, holy cow, man. Like, you literally never even get congested, okay? And that's not a knock on wood statement here on this one. This is the 5 strategies why we get sick. And here's the 5 things that I deploy to not get sick. And so I maybe never close the loop on my Monday night prayer, but it's just so disheartening. You know, I move through those emotions of frustration. Man, people in schools just don't get it. You should not be afraid of germs. You should not be bringing in, super soakers full of Purell and antibacterial. And thankfully, most of the people in this school, we have a lot of patients. We very much in this school. So it's a lot of natural health in the no patients. But there's also a lot of people who are still beholden to the, medical belief system that we are a victim and that germs cause us to get sick and bacteria and viruses cause us to get sick. And what we need to do is just lather our kids up with antibacterial soap and Purell and hand sanitizer and masks and keep them away from everybody else. And so what happens, and this is holy cow, is this scientifically proven? The more antibiotics, antibacterial, antimicrobial, and the more avoidance, those things all start with the letter A. The more you do that stuff, the sicker those kids and families get. And you know this to be true. Maybe you're on the journey to go from a family who was in this pediatrician taught medical system and got sick all the time. And now you're on your way to the other side, or maybe you're all the way on the other side. And it breaks your heart too when you see people be worried about cold and flu season. It breaks your heart too when you see kids who already struggle with asthma and autoimmune and allergies. And they're the ones eating chemicals, eating food full of chemicals and food dyes. And they're the ones always lathered up and antibacterial and, get your hand sanitizer. And they're the ones who are always taking more medications, because you know that the science actually masks out like this. They'll get more sick, not more healthy. we know the science, we know the stats. Let's get into the reasons. So my prayer shifted from frustration to honestly a little bit of brokenheartedness to motivation. And that's why I'm doing this podcast, because I can't just sit around and pray in my quiet corner that people see it differently. I got to get up, get louder, and teach it and say, hey, this is how God actually designed our immune systems. This is how God designed our kids. This is how God designed our teachers. This is how God designed us to be healthy. It is literally in the book, whether the one that starts with B and is called the Bible, or the one that starts with B and is called a biology, anatomy, physiology, immunological textbook. We know how this stuff works. It is not the exposure to germs, bacteria, viruses that gets us sick in the winter. We go through lowered resistance for these 5 reasons, and they're all kind of mashed into one. I'm going to split them up. They're on my notes and a little kind of blog article I wrote about this a while ago, but I'm going to merge them together when we get all done. So number 1, when we stay inside, because it gets colder and the days the sunlight doesn't last as long. And even if we do go outside, which is something I'm going to because 1 and 4 are going to really come together here. And we're going to highly encourage you, even if you live in Canadians, you're probably, actually, I'm speaking, you're probably outside already in winter gloves and hats and playing hockey on a pond and everything else. You guys are the bravest of people with cold. I don't know how even me. I'm going to push people to go outside in the cold, and then I travel up there sometimes resistantly. That's a funny pun because we're going to talk about resistance. So I am pretty resistant to travel north in the winter. But the few times that I have, I'm like, you are some hardy folks up here in Minnesota, Wisconsin, Canada, and then further north. So I'm preaching to the choir up there. But all of us need to know that it is essential to get vitamin D. Now, let's split the hairs on this one. The best vitamin D by far is the natural vitamin D that our body makes with the way God designed it, okay? So exposure to sun. Coolest thing is it doesn't actually take that much. You don't need to be, and again, whole issue in summer, right? Where people, the pediatrician in the medical system has also taught us to be afraid of the sun. We're afraid of germs. We're afraid of the sun. We're afraid of each other. No wonder we're not very healthy, right? Okay, I'm going to stop making that noise here. All right, so, oh my goodness, you poor listeners here. I love you guys. You are just, speaking of hardy, you are hardy listeners to my craziness. All right. So when we go outside, we get so many benefits. Let's start with sunlight. The way the sun, when our skin is exposed to the sun, it generates vitamin D. Now, I should have looked, I'm not a chemist, so I passed all these classes, then I immediately forgot everything to do with chemistry. And I used to be a functional neurologist, functional med, supplement-loving, obsessed person, so I used to know all the terms too, but now we're so focused on the nervous system, we collaborate with others. So what I'm getting at is I actually right now in this moment do not remember the unit of measurement that vitamin D comes in, okay? When I say I despised chemistry and loved neurology classes, I can't even tell you how true that is, okay? So let's say 1 for 1 on whatever unit of measurement. If our body generates naturally on its own, we'll go 10,000, I think it's like I use, if you get to 10,000 on your own generation, it is much better than 10,000 artificially. Now, I'm going to call supplements artificial for now, and anybody who's even dipped their toes into natural health and supplementation, you know that not all supplements are created equal. So there is some phenomenal companies, and we take them. Everything I'm talking about on this one right here, my family does, okay? We do not take vitamin D supplementation during the summer months. I know that a lot of people do so just as a proactive vitamin D. If there is a core pillar of being healthy, which is why I'm starting with this one, it is that. If there's a core number one reason that we get sicker and are more susceptible to illness and more stressed and more depressed and everything in the winter, it's because our vitamin D levels, which for most people, even in the summer months, are crazy low because they don't go outside enough. And if they do, they overload themselves on toxic sunscreen. Vitamin D levels are low, and then they go lower in winter, okay? Because we're not outside exposed to sun. Now, for my crew, we live on a farm. We are outside 24/7, literally as of recording this, and we will run that out. We will also go outside and we will sled and we will walk and we will do things nonstop in the winter. Now, when it's cold though, you're covered up, right? Your skin is covered up, and probably if it's cold enough and windy, your face is even covered up. So in the winter, it is absolutely, I'm kind of jumping to the strategies with this one. We do supplement with vitamin D, but it's still not the same. If you run your blood work, and you got to a certain level because you take supplements, or you got to the same level because you're in the sun all the time, I would contend and argue that the latter situation is absolutely healthier. Now, does that show up on your lab core blood results? No. And is it essential to keep those levels up even via supplementation and have a good supplement that is a legit supplement and not a poser supplement that is cheap and not bioavailable? Yes, all of that is true. I just am belaboring the point intentionally to tell you that getting outside, being exposed to the sun, and even trying to do that in the winter months is so essential, because when that goes low and when we're inside a ton, it's not that we're inside exposed to people. It's that we're inside, which is the same thing as saying not outside. Number 2 reason why we get sick so much more in the winter months, we get more stressed. Are you feeling it right now? I mean, I know I am. So I'm actually going to wrap up. When I get done with this one, I'm going to pack I'm a dude with no hair, well, other than a beard, but I don't, it's not a highly manicured beard. I don't go to the salon. I don't need to take a whole kit of things for my beard. If you're a dude listening in and your beard takes you a half hour every single day, I want you to check in with your beard and feel like, do you really need that life? Okay. That was just a dude to dude moment right there, trying to serve you well. Okay, so back on track. And I'm going to go to Nashville after this and hang out with, funny that I just got done talking about vitamin D and supplements. I'm going to go hang out with some of my homies in the natural health, just incredible world-changing world with Dr. Josh Axe and Jordan Rubin and some amazing people you've heard interviewed on the podcast here, Dr. Dan Sullivan. And so in that space, as I get done, it'll take me about 5 minutes to pack my bag because, again, I'm a dude. That's where that joke was going. And then I'll be on my way to O'Hare and heading down to Nashville for a day and a half of this incredible event with some of the top natural health docs out there. And it's just a blessing to be there. It's going to be extra stressful. So I'm going to give her an extra adjustment because I love her so much to my unbelievable kick butt rock star wife, Christina, because now for the next 48 hours, which is still during the week, she's got to rock our schedule with all that we do, and the kids are rocking. There's basketball, there's cross country. My oldest daughter, Addison, is 17, so she can sometimes drive, but she works tonight because she's got a job, because that's kind of how we rock it with Ebels, right? And so long story short, busy schedules, right? Just giving you a real life example from us. We go faster and our schedule seems to get more jam-packed in the winter months. There's school, there's after school sports, there's Christmas concerts that are going to come up during the winter. There is all these tournaments on the weekend. So even if your kiddos could sleep in, because busy schedules I have written on my notes / lack of sleep, because they kind of go hand in hand. There's the busy schedule stresses our nervous system. It puts us in sympathetic dominant. It takes our adrenals and we pull more from them. And what happens is when we're in a more sympathetic dominant fight or flight state, us, our kids, and everyone, and our adrenals are rocking and trying to keep up, we're in a pro-inflammatory state. When we're a pro-inflammatory state, it limits and suppresses our immune system. This is known significantly: sympathetic dominance, immune system suppression, pro-inflammation. That's how that neuroimmunological math equation goes. So stressful, busier schedules, less sleep. Sleep is big too. Now, even if you do go full speed, and we are, I'll say it, I'll always admit it, we love to go. We love to get after it. God has called us to a big mission. My wife and I are driven human beings. Our kids are my wife and I's kids. They're getting after it and going after big things. And they love it. And we get into it and we enjoy it. But we also protect our sleep schedules, okay? To everything we can. You will never meet a family from the time my kids were little to now where we really, really protect our sleep schedules. Because when you are busy, one of the offsets that your nervous system has, the most important offset, is sleep. If I were to rank, hey, an infrared sauna, a 10-minute meditation, a magnesium supplement versus sleep, sleep smokes all three of those other ones put together. Sleep is so important to your nervous system health and to your body's health, therefore your immune system health. So the number 2 reason we get more sick during the winter months, our schedules get slammed, we sleep less, and that rolls right into number 3, which is another S word, and then we house sugar. So I think I've been kind of recording these podcasts and going live here and doing these things, getting ready for the season. And the level with which I despise Halloween is indescribable, okay? First off, I have a practice with the biggest heart ever for kiddos who are, and we get them to the other side of this, but the majority of our population, especially starting out, they're very sensory sensitive, okay? They don't love loud noises. They don't love bright lights. They don't love chaos. And they don't love really cheap, poorly made, sensory, unfriendly Halloween costumes from that store that pops up in the place of the furniture store that went bankrupt, which is another thing somebody should figure out on a different podcast. How do furniture stores keep going bankrupt and then popping up as Halloween stores? It's a unique thing. I think they're owned by the same people. That is my conspiracy theory. Somebody circle around, shoot me a DM and let me know, okay? But in this Halloween to Thanksgiving to Christmas season, all of those happen within like 60 days, maybe and a couple days, maybe some change there. And we are just slamming cookies, slamming Reese's peanut butters, slamming Christmas parties, slamming school parties. It is such an unhealthy time around the holidays where we get into these seasonal, high carb, high sugar, high preservative foods. Now, I bet your family is making the updates and the shifts. And if not, let's use this as a catalyst to do it. What's so cool, I like my oldest daughter, beautiful daughter, Addis, I talked about earlier. She's an incredible baker. So for many years, because she's loved to do this since she was little, our family can have fun stuff with cleaner ingredients. So there's nothing that, like when we bake and we cook, it's always chemical free. And even if there is sugar, now don't get me wrong, that kid loves her sugar, right? She loves her butter. But you can also offset some of this by going chemical free. So when we look at the diet changes and all the holiday parties and all the different treats that come in, what I want to do on this one is really kind of break it down for you. Absolutely, rule number one within this one, make it chemical free. I actually, on my notes, I have the 5 strategies after the 5 problems. I'm so solutions oriented. I knew I wasn't going to be able to wait to get through the 5 solutions. So I'm kind of dancing between them here. The problem and then the solution. So I hope this is serving you in that way. And you're getting the take home action steps, because that's what we always want to do with our content. So what we do is we absolutely ensure no chemicals. So even if our kids go trick-or-treating, which I always try and talk them out of, like I try hard. I offer cash, I offer whatever, especially if it's cold, then the price goes up. Okay. Cause it just, no. So with this, we always make sure, even if they gather them, if they go out, we donate, which I don't even feel good about that either. Cause it's like, who gets this? Nobody should get this, Frankenfood at the end of this donation. But local dentists or whoever will do this and we send them out. So we never, ever have chemicals. We never have preservatives. We never have food dyes. Like for life, we just don't have that. Number 2, we make our own stuff. We will have some fun. We'll do some baking. It's actually kind of a fun thing to do together as a family. So we'll make our own treats. We'll make our own specialty meals. And we love to do it that way, where we find places that have that. The other thing that is so important to offset, everybody's going to, we do too. You're going to have more of that during the winter months. So just make sure that all the good stuff is getting in. Your healthy fats, your healthy protein. I am a nervous system focused person, not a nutrition focused person. But what we really, really do focus on is the nuts and bolts in this world. Number 4 reason why kids, families, everyone gets so sick during the winter months, which again, if you missed the beginning of this one, has nothing to do with these viruses and bacteria setting up shop, moving to your town and being like, let's get everybody sick. Okay, so I'm just coming back to my bad joke on one more time. When you don't get outside, you not only don't get sunlight. So number 4 is an extension of number 1, like I mentioned before. You don't exercise. If we're inside, we tend to be moving less. If we're moving less, we're sweating less. If we're sweating less, we require less hydration. If we have less hydration, our mucous membranes and the internal environment of our body dries out, and it becomes more of an open place for bad guys to get stuck, all right? So there's a lot to this. I know sometimes when you hear like, it's important to get outside and get vitamin D and drink water, you're like, yeah, duh, no big deal. See, we're in a weird / awesome place when it comes to natural health. And I think a lot of you right now, I'm going to go on a little tangent, and I think a lot of you are really going to relate to this, okay? We know so much about health. We know about nervous system regulation and neurologically focused chiropractic adjustments. And we know about infrared saunas, and we know about meditation, and we know about peptides, and we know about the microbiome, and we know about, herbal and homeopathic and essential oils. Sometimes in a little bit of a way, maybe a lot of a bit of a way, we know too much. And we get so fancy with our health, we forget to do the basics. And so one of the things that I think, again, you kind of can get a benefit from me personally is I got a lot of training and a lot of experience and a lot of this stuff. And I can go all neuroimmunological peptide microbiome conversation. Like, I love it. Let's go. Let's nerd out. But what really matters is the basics. And what I find all the time is when families go to get their kids healthy again, so if they have a kiddo struggling with a chronic health issue, or when they're just a natural health obsessed family, they sometimes complicate it to the degree that they forget to do the basics. And in my practice, with the toughest, sickest kids ever, and then I try and sneak this in all the time too here, we also have a huge family wellness practice. I know most people think of us because that's what God built us to do. We have kids coming from Ireland and London and South Africa and Chile to get, care for really tough stuff. But if you were to hang out there all day it actually mass out this way. A lot of them started in the perfect storm. Now they're out of it. So they're healthy, wellness, no problems, no symptoms, no diagnosis, no struggles. About 70 to 80% of the patients that come through our practice every single day are coming in for care proactively. Okay. They're deploying these strategies and then the ones I'll leave you with as well. And so in that case, it's the same conversation. We really work with them to crush the basics. And when you really, really crush the basics, getting adjusted, making sure your nervous system is rocking, making sure you're getting outside, getting sunlight, getting sweating, protecting sleep and hydrating, drinking plenty of water, especially if you're doing a good job of putting minerals and electrolytes and those things in it, which is absolutely what you should do for your kiddos as well. Well, now you've really covered about 80% of what it takes to heal and recover if your kids are sick and stay healthy if they're not. 80% is dependent upon the case. It might be a kind of over the top number for some and under for others. But the truth of the matter is I wanted to make this podcast and do this one going into the winter months, because it's not about taking 47 supplements. In fact, you're going to see before we're done, and and get into the strategies, we take one or two more supplements during the winter months, actually just one, vitamin D, than we do during the summer as a family, but we still save all this big, strong immune boosting stuff. That's our medicine cabinet. We don't have a medicine cabinet that has over-the-counter medications filled with dyes and chemicals into it. We have a medicine cabinet that has stronger natural health defense boosting supplements, herbs, oils, and those things. But we also don't want to take those every single day because then the body becomes immune to the good. All right. I'm already into the strategies because I just can't not get you the good stuff. It's hard for me to spend a lot of time in the problem. It's much easier for me to just kind of accelerate into the solution. But let me talk about number 5. Number 5 reason why we get more sick during the winter months is there's a lot of changes in temperature, pressure, and weather. Now you're like, is this dude talking about some old wives' tale? It's as true as can be. So our autonomic nervous system, which I teach you about on this platform more than anybody else out there. So the autonomic nervous system is in charge of regulation. It's in charge of homeostasis, okay? Of what? Everything. Every single system in the body, from our blood pressure and our heart rate and our breathing to our stomach and our digestion and our absorption and our elimination to our immune system and our modulation of inflammation to our endocrine system, our thyroid, our pituitary, our adrenals, our emotions, our socialization, our speech, our motor planning, gross motor, moving your big muscles and motor milestones, fine motor, speech, everything is regulated down to its intricate level by the autonomic and central nervous system. The autonomic nervous system also regulates our body's temperature, and it always works to regulate it at the same temperature internally. It's really beautiful and incredible, God's design, how much the body, I'm going to say it this way so you really get the value of this one. Our body fights hard every single moment of every single day to stay regulated, to stay balanced. That's why subluxation and nervous system dysregulation, actually, as of recording this one and getting it out to you guys, some of you get it earlier if you're joining on live platforms, Instagram, Facebook, and then you catch it later on with the podcast. today's podcast is about nervous system regulation. If you haven't listened to it yet, this is that conversation. It's the number one most important job of the body. And when a child goes through what's called the perfect storm, subluxation, and their nervous system gets out of balance, sympathetic dominant, parasympathetic exhausted, that's called nervous system dysregulation. So even at its best, it's already dysregulated, which means when it then has to handle bigger jobs, dealing with temperature changes, dealing with weather changes, dealing with storms coming in, dealing with full moons and pressure changes, that's why kids have more seizures during those pressure changes and weather changes. That's why kids have more meltdowns. That's why pandas kids have more tics or anxiety during weather changes. It's neurological. I know you've maybe read about some gut stuff and some parasite stuff with full moons and everything else. I'm telling you, that is somewhere in the vortex of actual neurophysiology. But the truth is, it's just flat nervous system dysregulation. So the fifth reason is that this places more stress on the body. I probably took it too far down that road because I'm so nerdy with nervous system dysregulation. Here's what happens when the weather changes, especially during transitional seasons. So fall and spring, I'm almost talking about those more than winter with this one. We get more sick, more stressed because the body gets more stressed. And if the body gets more stressed, the immune system gets suppressed because the body's in that sympathetic fight or flight stress. So that constant swing can really weaken the immune system and make kids and families more susceptible to infections and challenges. Okay, I've already snuck these 5 in to some degree or fashion, but so that you don't miss the action steps. I promise you that with everything we put out there, we will always speak right to the real root of a problem. We will speak right to the truth, right to the science, but I'll never leave you like, oh, now I know what the problem is, but you don't know what to do. We'll always leave you with the action steps on that. So here's the 5 natural defenses and proactive strategies that I want your family to deploy in spades, all out, full send. If you have a teenager, you know what that means, during the winter months especially. Number 1, neurologically focused chiropractic care. If you haven't started yet, do so now. I'm just going to be direct with this one, okay? Winter months, more stress for all the reasons we just went through. Winter months, more stress, more inflammation, more dysregulation, more lower defense, more sickness, more anxiety, more problems. Address that more proactively, more neurologically than ever before with neurologically focused chiropractic adjustments. Nobody taps into the nervous system's balance and regulation and restores it and boosts it and improves it like this kind of chiropractic. And once you get the nervous system humming again, every other system of the body comes online with it because they're all dependent upon nervous system function. So if you have immune system dysregulation, if you have sensory processing dysregulation, if you have behavioral and emotional dysregulation, and if you have autoimmune and chronically sick and kids who just get sick in the winter, then they're like just in and out of infections, get started right now. You'll probably need a care plan, what's called a neurologically focused restoration care plan. If you have not started yet, winter is a time. I know I talked earlier about busy schedules. We're going to add something to it. The coolest thing about chiropractic is it happens fast. We get you in, we get you out because, again, it works fast. It's incredible. It's the greatest health hack of all times when you look at it that way. But if you haven't started yet, make sure that your doctor, and they will, if they're trained by me, they'll give you a real care plan, which means real results. If you're already under care and you're already rocking and you want to proactively, because your kids have been sick in the past, always be ready for boost adjustments. If you're under care, talk to your docs, talk to us about boost adjustments. What we highly encourage are certain families, again, a little bit case dependent upon this one, but what I'll do is I just watch a little closer with my kiddos. So where they often, when we're humming and it's summer and they can sleep in and they're outside and, it's just easier to be healthy in summer. It doesn't mean that we're not able to be healthy in winter. It means you got to take this podcast and put it in play here, take these strategies and do it. So if I'm adjusting them once a week for wellness care during the summer, a lot of times if it's winter and they're just kind of in the thick of it, I'll adjust them twice a week. So it's math. I always call it neurological math. Number 2, boost your vitamin D intake. So we're still going to fight to get outside. We always take a vacation or two during the winter too and go somewhere where it's warm and we can get it in the sun and try and boost it up naturally. If there's any time the weather allows it, I will send my kids outside. I will I'm such a sucker for being healthy or so. I'll be like, roll up your sleeves. Let's get a little bit of sun. The sun can actually still be powerful in winter, right? And so we still go outside. And even if we can't get vitamin D though, because we're bundled up, at least we're sweating and getting active. That's number 3. So we do take vitamin D during the winter and we supplement with it along with, we just do the basics. So we do probiotics, we do omegas, and then in the winter we do vitamin D. I'll get into some immune boosting supplements at the very, very end here, a minute or two. But number 3 is get outside, stay active, really, really work on it. Don't let your kiddos just Minecraft the winter away. You know, trust me, my kids too. Don't take any judgment on that. Y'all, I got kids. I live the same life you do. If we weren't so obsessed with health and we didn't just try and lead by example and by accountability, they're kids. I don't blame them one bit. They'd want to Mario Kart, Minecraft, and get after it all winter while sitting down there, you know, just slurping on some Slurpees and Kraft Mac. I mean, they're kids. They don't know any better yet. We're working on them. Actually, it's kind of funny. My kids are pretty tuned in. They'll go to a Christmas party or something. And when they're littler, you have this with your kids, especially if you train them on natural health. They just speak their mind because they're littler and they haven't quite learned situational awareness yet. It's a big lesson in the Ebel household situational, like, hey, don't point out the chemtrails and the red food dye within the first 5 minutes of the party. You know, like, let's just kind of groove in here a little bit. Just keep it chill, Tiny. When I say this about my kids, it's Tiny. If you, that little pistol, she just speaks her mind. It's how God made her. So I think that's just going to keep happening. But anyways, get outside, take walks, stay busy. Number 4, I already talked about this in the problem. I went right to the solution. Prioritize your sleep. Okay. Actually, God designed us. And this is kind of like chiropractic nervous system understanding with how the nervous system heals, repairs, and regulates. It's actually kind of like an Eastern medicine, kind of ancient Chinese medicine sort of work too. Not my area of expertise. Again, in a couple hours, I'm going to be hanging out with these incredible folks like Dr. Josh Axe and Dr. Chris Motley. If you don't follow their podcast, the Dr. Axe podcast and the Ancient Health podcast, that's with our homie, Dr. Motley. You will love him. Two just rock star. They're both chiropractors who have just fallen in love with this stuff, but we're actually totally, and it's proven, both with how with 100% with how our body operates, we're supposed to chill in the winter months. We are supposed to slow down in the winter months. More rest, more sleep, more hearty, good, healthy foods that go along with that. And that's number 5. So go into those nutrient-dense whole foods. Get that slow cooker rocking. Get the supplements ready to go. So the way, if you can think about it, so if my kids get sick, so that's what I wanted to do. And maybe this is a nice little cut up at the very end. All right. So for my editing team, start the clock. I'm going to try and do this in under 60 seconds, which is the most impossible thing that my team asks me to do all the time, is to make a video under 60 seconds for YouTube. Instagram gives me 90, and I would like more, okay? But they don't give me this more. So here's point blank what the Ebel family does if Elena comes home tonight with a little bit of congestion and not feeling well. Here's the rapid fire. When our kids are having something with their immune system I don't use the word sick. When our kids are having an immune system challenge, okay? When their body is needing extra support to get through an illness, to get through an immune system challenge, here's what we do. Number 1, they get an extra adjustment or daily adjustments until they're through it. So we boost their nervous system first, because their nervous system controls the immune system, the digestive system, the endocrine system. The nervous system controls drainage and plumbing and lymphatic and detoxing the body. An adjustment alone, boost adjustments, gets them through 90% of the illnesses we've had. If they're still struggling or just proactively, what we do is we make some healthy immune boosting tea. We add some healthy essential oils into their little diffuser at night, and they take a few extra vitamin D, vitamin C, elderberry, and some real basic things within supplementation. It's all natural. It's all designed to boost the function of their body, not suppress the illness. And they get through it so fast and they come out stronger on the other side. Bam. That's what we do. And I pray that was under 60 seconds, because then we can use that cut later on and just send it to you and say, because I get that question all the time. What do you do when your kids get sick? Number 1, answer 0. We work our tails off proactively. I actually don't love the word. You notice I haven't used the word preventative this whole time? Not a big fan. Medicine has now stolen the word prevention too, to sell you more things that are not actually prevention. They're intervention. So we love the word preparation or proactive. We are a family who is proactively healthy. We prepare for challenges. Therefore, if we have them, we handle them. Okay. That's how we do stuff with our health. When it comes down to it, though, and there is that winter transition or whatever it is, and if our kids have something that they need extra help with, that's the list. Extra adjustments, extra supplements, extra sleep, some essential oils, some tea, and then we usually, I guess I forgot in my 60-second clip, we love us some chicken noodle soup. There's still some straight up farmers in us, old school, Croatian from my wife's side and German from my side. So we go into good food, and we do it that way to boost the function of the body, reduce inflammation, and make sure they can get stronger. I actually, when I say I mean our incredible team, in conjunction with our most incredible and impactful health partner here locally, Well-Rooted Pediatrics. It's a great follow on Instagram if you haven't yet. If you are local to us and your kids, that's not your holistic functional provider. If you've listened to all the podcast episodes, you heard me jam on antibiotics and immune system stuff with Jessica, the founder and owner of that incredible practice. They, along with, again, here locally, the Crystal Lake Health Food Store, one of our team members, the incredible Laura, owns that place. And I know many of you are tuning in from far away, but we have put together an incredible set of resources for you all around this conversation. All you need to do is send us an email, support@pxdocs, so pxdocs.com, support@pxdocs.com, or if you're finding this YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, just DM us somewhere. Even if you're listening to the podcast and you don't want to send an email, you want to go over to Instagram and drop us a DM. Just say, send me the Kick the Sick or Nature's Medicine Cabinet. We kind of go by two names with it. We have an incredible PDF resource that you can download, and it tells you exactly what we do when our kids are sick and the exact protocol, the exact supplements. And again, outside of actually quite a bit of what I talked about today, I'm a nervous system focused chiropractor. So getting into supplementation, getting into essential oils, getting into lifestyle and diet changes. I don't pretend that's my foremost expertise because you can't be a jack of all trades. You can be a master of one. So we have mastered nervous system health, and you'll get that from us more than anybody else. But let's not kid ourselves. What we need to do is absolutely be healthy in every way we can, especially during the winter months, starting with our nervous system as the boss and main operating system, and then supporting it with the way we do these other things. So if you want those resources, they are awesome. Dr. Matt from our team really worked with Well-Rooted and the Health Food Store, two just absolutely brilliant women who know natural health, nutrition, supplements, homeopathic, herbs. If you want what we know for your family, send us that email, support@pxdocs.com. Comment in here, DM us. However you're getting this, just ask for it. We'll get it to you. I'm not a real good, on that side of things, but I just wanted to make sure in this episode that you knew exactly how to get that. All right, everybody, for this one, thanks for jamming with this. Truthfully, I love doing these Ask Dr. Tony shows. I could tell winter was coming because, these are the questions that were coming in. Hey, when your kids get sick, what do you do? That was a lot of the questions that came in that kind of sparked this one, along with the prayer at the board meeting on Monday night. Just God's timing, coalescing this all together, which is how this stuff usually goes. It's how we choose topics. It's kind of coming at us from all angles, coming at us primarily from you. And we just want to serve you with the answers and the strategies and the action steps that you need right now. And as we go into winter months, we were getting a lot of questions about, hey, what do you do when your kids get sick? And then there was a couple of questions that I really love, kind of the frame that they came in is, hey, I know this stuff is coming proactively. So one of you moms actually even used that word, and it caught my eye. I love it. You're jamming the way we are. What can we do proactively to stay healthy this winter? I think is how the question was asked. So I love you for asking that. And this is my answer and work through that. All right, everybody. As always, you got more questions. You can send them in to us. If there's other topics that we haven't covered yet on a live, on a video, on a podcast episode, you name it, we're here for it. You send it to us. We'll always get to it as quick as we possibly can. God bless, be well, and be healthy this winter. It is absolutely how you and your kids are designed. Have fun. We embrace winter. My kids love sledding more than freaking anything else out there. So I don't think anything changes in the winter. You just bundle up a little bit before you go outside. Again, unless you're a teenager or you're that dad. There's always one dad in a community that just wears shorts. We don't know what's up with that dad, but he's the shorts dad. And you all know the shorts dad. So if you're the shorts dad, good luck to your legs this winter. God bless. Be well. See you guys. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. Do you have a question that you would like to submit? Either send it to support at pxdocs.com with the subject Ask Dr. Tony, or head on over to our socials at pxdocs, where you can submit your question in our stories every single week. Every kid counts and every family counts, so let's leave no questions left unanswered. If you loved this episode and you want to help us reach more kids, we would so appreciate if you left a review and a rating on your favorite platform. God bless. Be well. We'll see you on the next one.